What's up? Welcome to another edition of Model Breakdown. This is where I talk entirely too long about one specific kit in question, be it a single model kit or a full squad kit, giving you my overall thoughts and opinions on the model, likes and dislikes, pointing things out and so forth, going over some thoughts on some basic building and painting of said model, because while I haven't done everything, you get to a point when you're doing this hobby that you've done enough different things where you have a basic understanding of like I said, the basics of getting things together and getting paint on the model. So share any basic stuff that way to help anybody out maybe. And then I'll talk about if I think the model needs a redo and whether or not I think it does. If it is going to get redone, what would I like to see? So that's the idea behind this ramble. Feel free to share your thoughts on the model in question as well in the comment section below. It's going to be not a long video, but it's going to be me, like I said, talking entirely too long on, in this case, Murderfang from the Space Wolves. So doing this model because the Space Wolf Codex is coming out as of this ramble. It's up for pre-order still, but it'll be coming out very soon. And I gotta say, Murderfang is kind of ridiculous to me. It's not a model I particularly enjoy. His fluff even is semi-forgettable, semi-silly in the fact that they kind of just lost track of this guy and forgot who was in it, considering Dreadnoughts are a sacred relic. But anyway, Murderfang is a good case study, if you will, of a model that on the whole is decent. Not bad at all. Good detail, good posing, but there's one part about the model that is a deal breaker for me and a bunch of people out there, Space Wolf fans and non-Space Wolf fans I've heard talk about this, and that is Murderfang's face. Nobody likes his face, and by that I mean the actual little bit of face that you see on the model. His head is exposed. It's a Mark IV style of Dreadnought sarcophagus, so technically you could say the helmet is part of the sarcophagus of his old armor or whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, it's still a Dreadnought sarcophagus, a Dreadnought coffin basically. It's meant to be sealed. You're not supposed to see the pilot. The pilot is crippled unto death. He's supposed to be just in, whether it's in amniotic fluid, whether or not he's just fully cabled and tied into the system and plugged in literally, whatever the case is, he's not supposed to be visible. Murderfang's face is visible. If this was an RPG or a video game, that would be how you kill him real easy. You just shoot him in the face. Luckily, the miniature war game doesn't have to deal with that. And it's this model that made me concerned when I heard Space Wolves were getting Wolfen Dreadnoughts, because I was picturing a bunch of Murderfangs with their faces exposed and being all silly, and then maybe GW trying to werewolfify the Dreadnought armor itself, which would be even sillier. But even though we haven't actually seen an example painted of Wolfen Dreadnought necessarily, I don't know if that's going to get a kit. I doubt it, but they could always do a pre-order of Space Wolf stuff with the launch of a codex. But the limited stuff we saw on Wolfen Dreadnoughts thus far makes me think that's not really going to happen, and we don't have to worry about that situation. They're just going to be basically like a style, kind of like how Death Company is, but they're going to be full-fledged Dreadnoughts, probably using the Venerable Dreadnought model as the Wolfen model. But anyway, if they don't get anything new. But Murderfang is why I was concerned about that. So, on the whole, though, like I mentioned, his model isn't bad. The posing is very nice. The posing can lead into one of several different things that Dreadnought's about to do. The detail on the model is very nice. Wolf pelts on the left arm, a shield on top of it, trophy kind of bone rack on the back of the Dreadnought, talismans and Phoenician ruins and all that jazz. Really not a bad bit of detail at all. It looks good. It's just spoiled and for me ruined, for a lot of people ruined, by Murderfang's exposed face. Now let's take a step back for a second and understand the kit that Murderfang is in is not a standalone kit. It's the Space Wolf Dreadnought kit. It can build Murderfang, or it can build the Venerable Dreadnought, or it can build Bjorn. we're looking at the way it's intended to build Murderfang. There are ways around this, which I'll get to at the very end of this ramble, but for the intended purpose of building Murderfang, it includes his exposed face, which is silly. It just feels off, and of course you can go through the logistics of, well, then now he can't fight in a vacuum, or in space basically, or extreme temperatures, or anywhere where you need a sealed life support system. Murderfang is exposed and compromised and can't do that, really limiting the Dreadnought's kill you factor. He can't put a helmet on himself because his arms can't reach. He can't bite you because his arms can't really reach to bring you to his face to bite you. Maybe you can argue he could extend it out and do a weird articulation to do it, but it would just be really awkward, I feel. And then he can't the Dreadnought chassis isn't flexible for him to kind of bend down and bite you either. And even if he could, his face is inset back behind armored sarcophagus, so he can't even really bite you that way. So having an exposed face really just feels unnecessary and superfluous. Yes, I do have a bias against exposed heads on Space Marines, or in models in general in 40k. You got armor, why don't you wear your head armor? And that's my personal take. I get aesthetically why it's done for Terminators and Space Marines and Power Armor, for example, and you always have the idea that they could be wearing a helmet in space. They'll put the helmet on for space. I get that. In fact, there's a cover art of Azrael on a novel wearing the lion helm, because he's he's in void battle, in the void on a ship that is, I think, has had its hull compromised. So he is wearing his helmet because it makes sense. So, anyways, Murderfang is very much silly, deal breakery because of its head. Now, if you like that about Murderfang, if you think that adds kind of this weird savagery and just recklessness, care to the wind because his face is exposed and he don't care and nobody cares apparently, that's fine. You're not silly. You're not dumb. That's your opinion. That's the model you like. Go for it. It's your army, whatever you want to do. The model itself, for me, however, is silly. The design choice to do that, I feel, is a little ridiculous. And it ruins an otherwise really cool model. If Murderfang's face was never exposed, if he had some weird stylized leering skull helmet thing, or just was a boxy Dreadnought like Bjorn is, I would say cool model. I like the posing. Name's a little silly. Murder claws, his weapons are also kind of silly. His fluff is whatever, but it's a cool model. But he doesn't get that pass because his face is exposed. So that's the deal breaker for me. It's along the same vein, and I'll get to this eventually, why Centurion squads, I don't like their models. They have a deal breaker thing going on there as well. Having said all that, the other two Dreadnoughts the kid can build, Bjorn, fantastic model. The Venerable Space Wolf Dreadnought, fantastic model, and they'll get their own model breakdowns in the future. So it's 2/3 are really cool models, and 1/3 of the stuff that can be built is a cool model for like 90% of it, 95% of it, and you got this head bit that kind of just ruins it all. Again, for me, and I know other people feel similarly. So with that said, assuming you want to build and paint them as intended, I always recommend dry fitting everything. It's just the best thing to do, especially with a vehicle walker like this, because, for example, the leg plate armor, dry fitting it will let you determine if you're okay with it being there when it comes time to paint, or if you want to have it separate so you can paint the leg armor separate and then the leg itself separate, get all the painting neatly done and what have you, and then glue it on so it all looks fully painted properly. It's up to you. You might do a dry fit and decide I'll leave this leg armor on and the other one I'll take off, given the pose or whatever the case is. I also recommend leaving the arms off, because it'll make it easier to paint all the arm bits and whatnot of the Dreadnought, get to the wolf pelts on the left arm, for example, and then paint the Dreadnought sarcophagus up fully. Makes it that much easier with the arms off. Now, given his posing, what I've done with Dreadnoughts in the past is I've pinned the legs to the torso, or to the actual Dreadnought sarcophagus, This lets you kind of torso twist him. Now this guy's posed in a way where that might not be the most feasible thing, or you would use 2 pins to kind of lock that pose in place. The reason I recommend maybe looking into that, it's a little bit extra work, is, or at the very least, seeing how the Dreadnought torso connects and leaving the Dreadnought torso separate from the legs as well. It just lets you get all access easier on this guy and then glue it all together at the end or whatever. That's my biggest suggestion there. And when it comes to painting, I don't have much to say in terms of techniques to try or anything, but the baby blue gray color that the Space Wolves have covers up nicely. It touches up nicely, so you can be a little sloppier with your dry brushing and overbrushing and potentially washers and whatnot to get the wolf pelts looking real good. Get the gold where you want it, and then just touch up with the baby blue gray color, and it'll look very good. And of course, anything with black is super easy to touch up. So that's just food for thought there. Now, having said all that, I think this model needs an update. And all I think it really needs is something to remove the head bit. Make him a boxy Dreadnought, give him some kind of a stylized leering skull helm thingamabobber, anything where we just don't see flesh. And you have a fantastic model through and through with that one little relatively simplistic change. Nothing else needs to be changed. His murder claws are posed nicely. The Dreadnought itself is posed nicely. The detail there is very well done. It looks good and crisp. It's just Murderfang's face is the problem. So that's all I would want to see changed, is Murderfang's face. Now, some people will go ahead and do that themselves, like converting it up. The other thing people do is they just take the Venerable, to be super easy, they take the Venerable Dreadnought sarcophagus front, put it on Murderfang's body build that you're doing. So you're building Murderfang's chassis up, so you got his claws, you got the everything going for it, all the detail bits on there, and you just put the Venerable Dreadnought sarcophagus front plate on, and you got a fantastic looking model. Way better than Murderfang's exposed face, in my opinion. So that's the easy fix people do nowadays. Some people, I forget if Murderfang's head is kind of like part of the sarcophagus bit front. It's hard to tell when looking at the sprue, and I've seen it, the sprue more up close before. I just can't remember. Either way, you could try and cut it out or just put something in its place, and then you have a quick and easy fix there too. I just think GW needs to retcon this decision with an updated kit where you don't have Murderfang's face exposed. They can even do kind of a Blood Angel-y death mask style of thing where they could be kind of like a stylization of his wolfen face, but it's done in like gold or whatever, so it's very clearly not the face but a mask, kind of Blood Angel-y death mask style. Or just, have a stylized wolf skull thing in there and it'll look fine and be fitting. So just food for thought that way, but that's all I really want to see. But the easy thing to do, because this kit can build 1 of 3 Dreadnought variants, is just to make the sarcophagus itself like a Venerable Dreadnought, put all the Murderfang bits on it and a Murderfang arms on it, and then you have Murderfang that looks way better, in my opinion. Anyways, thanks for sticking through this entirely too long ramble on one model here. I'm sure there'll be some posts about that potentially in the comments, but thanks for sticking through it. Share your thoughts on Murderfang. Are you somebody who actually likes the exposed face? If you are, more power to you. It's definitely not for me, and there's a lot of Space Wolf fans and non-Space Wolf fans who look at this model and it's not for them either, that face. But I want to make it clear, the rest of the model is really good though. It's a shame, honestly. So anyways, share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below, and until next time, take it easy.